Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Media Mania podcast. I'm your host, as always, the Media Maverick Mike Weldon, and I'm joined once again by my good friend and friend of the show, Storm Chaser Nathan Reno, aka Wheelie Weather. Nathan, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back. Back so soon.
Back again, Shady's back.
That's
And
where
in
my
this
head
episode,
that's where my head immediately went.
and this episode, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about Storm Ready 2026, tornadoes, floods, derechos, just storm safety for 2026 and as a whole. So, right off right off the bat, my first question, I'm gonna hit you with a good one right off the bat. What makes wind events like derechos particularly dangerous compared to regular storms?
What makes wind events particularly dangerous, and this is my opinion on the matter, is the fact that you have so many dynamics to severe weather. You have the storm itself, you have heavy rain, high precipitation, lightning, thunder, the chance of hail, tornadoes. Everything's ongoing. It's a rapidly evolving situation. And especially these days with the dawn of social media, there's so much that, so much information that people are absorbing um, from various different aspects that they don't know what's real, what's not, you know, what's actually going to happen, which I mean in all reality that's what it is to begin with. It's a bunch of big predictions. Well, while they're sitting here absorbing all of this information, are they really absorbing all of this information, or are they nitpicking the key points that they see that they're fearful of the most?
Yeah.
Um, and a majority, not all, but a majority of them, it's tornadoes because during spring, mid early summer, what's out there, what in the within the weather community anyway, what videos are flooding your feed? It's ev- it's
Tornadoes.
it's tornado videos. It's tornadoes destroying you know
Mm-hmm.
fields, houses, apartment buildings, fences, you name it, yada yada yada. And they see people. A lot of people are visual learners, and they are also in that aspect, they have become desensitized to the warning process and the watch process due to their thought process, their own thought process of how things should be. Well, if I'm under a risk, I should get weather. No, that's not exactly how it goes. I'm sorry. That's not even how the probability of rain goes.
Nope.
A 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% chance of rain. That's not even how the probability of rain works. But you're people are so misconstrued on the idea of, if I'm under a risk, I should see something. No, that's just where the idea of the potential impacts may actually occur. The highest probability of the impacts may occur. So they nitpick and they focus on what they want to focus on. And for a lot of people, it's tornadoes because that's what they've seen. They've seen tornadoes destroy houses, they've seen tornadoes do this, do that, and they know they're destructive and deadly. And they tend to prioritize one thing over another, whether that be, or they tend to prioritize one thing over another. Tornadoes number one, flooding number two, because a lot of people have a fear of drowning, can't swim, do this, do that, and they go on down the list. Damaging winds and straight line winds, derecho, whatever, number three, hail number four, whatever it's gonna be, and like I said, being lower tier for a lot of people on that list, they're not considering the fact that, okay, I could actually see damaging wind gusts between 65 and 80 to 90 miles an hour. So,
Yeah.
in that given event, even though it's forecast, you have a lot of people who will, oh, okay, well, it's forecast, but it's not going to happen. They look at, there's a lot of people who don't understand the risk associations. The 5% tornado risk, 10% tornado risk, which has just recently been removed, 15% tornado risk, yada yada yada. They
Yep.
think that it's certain or whatever, and in all reality it means within a 25-mile radius of, or a certain radius of, X location within the risk area. So what I see at my house, and you being X amount of miles away from where I live,
Yep.
you might not see it, or you might see it to a lesser degree, or you might see it to a greater degree.
Yep.
Okay. And vice versa. I may see it to a lesser degree. I may not see it at all, depending on the coverage and the severity of the storms.
Yep.
So these people, they prioritize what they want to prioritize, in my opinion, and see what they want to see. And then they go down the list from there. And to them, the word tornado sticks out in their mind.
Yeah.
Damaging winds, it doesn't radiate the same
Yep.
as tornado would radiate to a lot of folks. A lot of folks associate that, the word tornado, with absolute danger, this, that, and all the other. Damaging winds, they don't, damaging winds, straight line winds, whatever, they don't associate that with absolute imminent danger, even though in all reality, you get to 70 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour, you're talking EF0 tornado range, EF1 tornado range once you get to 85 miles an hour. And you can have straight line winds up to EF2 range, 110, 112 miles, 115 miles an hour.
Yep.
Very, very seldom occasions, mainly seen out in the plain states, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, North, South Dakota, whatever. But you can get those straight line and those derecho wind events where you see 110 plus mile an hour straight line winds. And it's gonna do, it may not be a vertical spinning column of air that's coming at your direct location that's going to, impact your house. But in the same realm, it's a larger swath of wind than a tornado in most cases. A tornado in most cases is under a half a mile wide. Most cases. So it's under, 800 yards. So it's under 800 yards wide. Um, your average damaging wind swath in a derecho can be, 1, 2, 5, 10 miles wide, and span, many, many miles, and do the effective same amount of damage as a tornado, just without the condensed funnel cloud
Yeah.
touching the ground. So,
So my next question, it kind of carries over that we've already been talking about. What are there common mistakes people make during severe storms that could put them in danger?
oh, plenty of common mistakes that people make that can, put their lives in danger and put their life on the line. Um, and one of the most common, in, again, my opinion, one of the most common mistakes that they make is not having a trusted weather source to
Yep.
rely on. And we saw it with, and we addressed it with the past winter storm, winter BS that we're going over. Too many people rely on these unreliable apps that don't feed them the necessary information that needs to be fed to convey the precise message that needs to be conveyed for them to understand that the actual gravity of the threat in their location could be a tad higher than this X app or Y app or Z app, whatever. Some of these apps just put out, level 1 or level 2 for um, X risk association,
Are
and
we gonna talk
they're
about the Apple Weather app? Are we gonna talk about that?
it botched the winter storm. We went from what, 10 to 12, 14 inches of snow here, and we got 2.5. I got 2.5 at my house.
Yeah.
Botched it. Absolutely botched it. Um, so, they're relying on these apps and everything like that that don't feed them the necessary information. The second, another thing that a lot of people do is they're allowing the sources that do feed them the necessary information, the Storm Prediction Center, the NOAA Weather Prediction Center, their broadcast meteorologists, their local NWS meteorologists, these weather enthusiast storm chaser pages, everything like that, that do feed them non fear mongering, non hype scenarios. They're allowing it, instead of absorbing that knowledge and absorbing what's being told, they're allowing it to continue to drive their fear. And when they allow it to continue to drive their fear, they become less prepared. When you're in panic mode and you're panicking going 500 miles an hour, you're more apt to make a mistake than you are if you take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, you're calm, you're level headed, and you have some type of 1, 2, 3 step plan in place if X scenario goes down.
Mm.
Okay, so X
See,
scenario goes down and you panic. You're more apt to go into, the wrong place, the wrong shelter location, miss a step, forget a helmet, forget, um some of your the essentials that you need, while you're
yeah,
sheltering, an emergency kit, a two-way
batteries, stuff like
radio.
that.
Do what?
I was saying about like batteries, water.
Yeah, batteries, water, you're more apt to forget a step while you're sitting there panicking than you are if you're level-headed, have your plan, have practiced your plan, know what to do, and have executed, X, Y, and Z a number of times ahead of what is projected to come, instead of sit back, wait for it to come, and panic as soon as it does. You are more apt to mess up and get yourself in a life altering, potentially dangerous, fatal situation again than you are um to be level headed and calm about it. And I'm the way that I've always believed, knowledge is power. The more knowledge that you have, the better prepared that you're going to be and the better prepared that you can be. You want to
Hmm.
retain, even if you have to sit here and write down notes, take notes in a journal, on your notes on your phone. Probably more ideal on your notes on your phone, because I can't think of a person yet that um in a haste is not going to have their phone in their back pocket, not going to have their phone in their shirt, not going to have their phone in their, hip pocket, whatever, if they have to go
Yeah.
take shelter for some odd reason. If they get a tornado warning, if they get, a severe thunderstorm warning that's got 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts and golf ball size wind driven hail. Uh, If they're going to the lowest level, most centered room in their house, away from windows and doors, surrounded by the most walls, the most interior room, as you're supposed to in a tornado warning, most most people I know, I honestly can think of maybe one or two that would just up and forget about their phone these days.
Yeah.
20 years ago, okay, sure. That could be, that they'd leave their phone on the table. They wouldn't even think twice about it. But now everybody's got a phone in their hands. Social media this, social media that, weather apps this, news apps this, news apps that, warnings, notifications this, notifications that, and for when the power goes out, it's an absolutely great resource to have so that you can understand. You can check in on, live radar. You can check in on live streams, live feeds for your local, broadcast meteorologist, to check in with them to see where the storm is, to see if it's past you, whatever. So keeping that phone on you is another reason that I think the, putting your severe weather preparations and your shelter plans in your notes on your phone could be, a fairly decent idea, because that phone's in your hand. You're going to be more apt to look at it than you are to, oh crap, I'm in, the master bedroom, but journal that I have my storm preparation it written out on is over in the kitchen, you know, and they get that tornado warning.
See, one of my things that I've seen, me and you've talked about it off camera, is you see when these tornadoes happen, you see these people in their cars driving, like parking their cars under under underpasses and like under overpasses and all that, and it just causes a whole bunch of unnecessary, unsafe conditions.
If you look at and they I mean there's a if you're a statistician, there's a statistic for everything these days. People are part of, in my opinion, part of the reason that part of the thing that's ruining baseball, but we're not here to talk about sports today. Um, but there's a statistic for, you know, everything these days. If you get on and you observe the statistics from all of these weather related injuries, weather related fatalities, whatever, you'll find that a high percentage of them, a number of those fatalities come from cars. People get in their cars, they try to outrun a tornado, they try to outrun a severe storm. And that's part of one of the things that the National Weather Service continues to work on within the realm of social sciences. They want to continue to lengthen the lead time on um, severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, you know, this warning, that warning, whatever, so that people actually have the necessary amount of time available where if they want to get out of Dodge, if they want to jump in that, you know, that car, that truck, whatever, and leave their premises, they can. And
Yeah,
they've been working at that for years because there's there I, and I have talked to plenty of people well over 15 that you know you get the day 2 SPC risk, people see where it's at. Then you get the day 1 SPC risk. And if it's high enough, you know, if it's a moderate or if it's a enhanced risk or a moderate risk or, you know, whatever over X area, Y area, you have people that honestly will get in their car and flee. They will get in their car and take a trip 150, 200, 250 miles out of that severe weather zone so that they're not in the area of projected highest impact. And that again, that's something that the National Weather Service um, continues to look at. That's why we push these surveys. We throw these surveys out that, you know, um, X university is doing or whatever. This person's doing, that person's doing, so that it can all of that information can go back to the right sources on how people react to different situations. And it's broad, I mean broad across the board, just like we saw again with the winter weather scenario that just unfolded. You had thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people that went out, bought electric heaters,
ate
propane heaters, kerosene
ate loaves of
heaters.
bread.
They what?
They bought 8 loaves of bread, 9 gallons of milk.
Yeah, they bought bread, they bought milk, they bought ground beef, they bought vegetables. You know, they prepared themselves to potentially be out of power or to potentially, you know, at least at the very least be stuck in the house for 3 or 4 or 5 days, you know. Um
Yeah,
and that's the part where the messaging got through. The messaging got through um to most people. But then on the flip side of that, you also have the people who no matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter what you show them, I'm convinced that there's some people out there you could literally show a video of, if you're familiar with the Coleman, Alabama EF4 in 2011.
yeah.
Um, you could literally show them a video with a tornado with horizontal vortices that's a half a mile wide bearing down on their location, and they're just going to kick back, grab a beer, crack it open. Oh, it won't happen. Nothing will happen. We're good. And this tornado's, half a mile in from their house, and they're just like, nah, we're good. Won't happen.
Wouldn't that be you though? I think that kind of describes you too, in a sense.
In a sense, yes. In a sense, no. Um, and I don't wanna bite off more than I can chew, but does it doesn't it really kind of, boil down to common sense? I mean, I know I promise I know when it's time to hit the closet. And I've hit the closet a couple times in the last 8 years, 9 years. Um,
I
I've
remember. I remember it was earlier this summer. Me and you had just started talking about me getting interested in the weather community, and I sent you this meme. It'll be some guy on a roof in a lawn chair watching the tornado just go down the road, and everyone else be getting into their shelters, and you be still out there watching the damn thing.
that would be me. Um, and you always have these people that, that are gonna, play this scenario, play that scenario. And I mean, I couldn't even get away with, lying and saying that I haven't done it because there's video evidence out there that I have during tornado warned storms. I am the one that will go out on the porch and video and, oh, this is cool. Oh, that looks cool. And ooh, whatever. But then again, I know what to look for. I know, how to play
Do
it
as I
safe,
say, not as I
how to
do.
how to generally play it safe to where, okay, cool. Yeah, it's time to go. It's time to hit the closet. And May 31st, 2023. That was one of the nights I've recently hit the closet. I could probably think of one in 2024 if I tried. But the
I
night of
remember
May
that night.
yeah,
I remember that night. I remember that night.
yeah, that was the night
Me,
Reedyville got hit by the EF2.
yeah.
Um,
I remember that night.
and
I was up late that night, and I knew there's severe weather in the area, and I remember hearing something outside. It sounded like a train just in the distance, and but I just knew there's no train tracks within 10 miles of where within 5 miles of my house. There's no train tracks.
right, I mean, that's when you hear certain things, you especially when it comes down to that. And Tennessee leads the nation in nocturnal tornadoes. They're number one in nocturnal tornadoes with 48 or 46, excuse me, 46% of our tornadoes being nocturnal tornadoes. And that creates an absolutely different type of hazard. You have people that work first shift, second shift, third shift, all sorts of different jobs, go to bed at different times, get up at different times, yada, yada, yada. When the sun goes down, it's just like the good old saying, nothing good happens after midnight. Well, when you have storms after dark, nothing good happens after about 7 o'clock.
No.
So,
I remember the Nashville tornado. I remember March 2020 Nashville. I remember that very well.
yeah, March 2nd, March 3rd, 2020, that was devastating too. I mean, to have a tornado of that capacity roll through a downtown metro area in, the late night, early morning hours of a downtown metro area that's got almost a million people in it. Yeah, that could have turned out absolutely catastrophic. Um, was it bad? Yeah, it was absolutely nasty. It was a lot better than it could have been, but
I want to be the guy in that crane. I want to be the guy in that crane. I want like just to get the video, just to get the video.
nope, absolutely not. Couldn't pay me.
I want you need hazard pay. You probably need hazard pay.
Nope, you couldn't. Oh yeah, people had to pay for that video, but you couldn't pay me to be the guy up there at what, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, way up there in a crane,
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Um,
Not a
First of all, I
chance.
don't like heights. You're not getting me over, 10, 12 feet off the ground. Um, unless I know that I can absolutely ensure my security and my safety. And that also has to do with my disability too, because obviously not being able to feel,
Yeah.
certain aspects below your knees, your balance is thrown off. But I
Yeah.
just don't like heights in general. So you're definitely not getting me in a crane. There, I mean, I don't care how many harnesses are involved and how many safety latches, how many, carabiners, whatever are involved. You're not getting me in a crane, and you're not getting me in a crane after dark. Doesn't work.
Yeah. In the middle of a tornado.
Yeah, in the middle of a tornado. I mean, I don't even care about the tornado, much less, even a general 60-mile an hour damaging wind thunderstorm. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Lightning. Like lightning strikes the damn thing.
Yeah, lightning, thunder, I mean, I could do the lightning and the thunder, and it would be a cool, big, cool view. And uh, I do have an aspiration to kind of see a storm from the Space Needle in Seattle, but it
Yeah.
realistically, will I ever do it because of fears? And no, I won't. Would be cool. Yes, absolutely would be cool, but I'm never gonna do it. No, thank you.
So
So
my next question: how do you personally, as a storm chaser, how do you stay updated and informed about severe weather when it's on? Like, I know you were talking about the apps a little while ago, but how do you like what apps do you use as a storm chaser as a certified storm spotter?
I am mostly on the apps that I have in a folder on my phone. The way that I stay connected, I'm mostly connected to the Storm Prediction Center. Um, the Weather Prediction Center, NOAA, NOAA, their websites, their, social medias, this, that, and all the other. It definitely helps, to know and to understand how to read models, how to understand, what the thermodynamics of the atmosphere could be for X setup, what, the potential of this setup could be or that setup could be. It definitely helps to have an idea at the 10 to 14 day range that something is plausible. That Pivotal Weather is another big thing of mine that I watch. Models on the Weatherfront app, since they also allow and have a bunch of models that they allow use of within their app, everything like that, to help me stay connected, help me stay aware of what's going on. And like I told somebody the other night, it's not like I'm gonna sit there and downplay the situation or lie or whatever and say that I don't have the Weather Channel or AccuWeather or Apple Weather, whatever downloaded. I do. It's there.
Yeah,
It's there. It's on my phone. Mainly, number one, because I'm too lazy to just, hold my thumb down for 3 seconds and delete the sucker. But they're also, for me at least, they serve a small, minute bit of purpose if I want to, just jump on and take a look at a guess of the temperature, or what the humidity or the dew point looks like, or, what the barometric pressure looks like, just without having to do a little bit of extra footwork. And it doesn't, may not be 100%, but gives me a decent idea. And then of course I stick to, like I said, fundamentals, and being able to read the models and being able to decipher what you're seeing on radar. Um, Being able to decipher, weather patterns and flow and this, that, and all the other is, it's a huge help. I promise that if you're, suffering some kind of anxiety, or whether, lapsophobia, whatever, the case may be, that if you learn to understand what you're reading, what you're looking at, it's going to help. It's going to help you, be able to take a deep breath, sit back and say, okay, now that I've analyzed this, it doesn't look as bad as X page makes it out to be.
yeah,
You know, if you can look at the thermodynamics of a severe weather setup and see that X ingredient is missing or Y ingredient is missing, or it's not favorable, or the storm motions aren't favorable, the storm mode may not be as favorable as once thought. um Going into watching radar and watching how it all unfolds, and even just a touch of information, it's gonna help you breathe better and be able to put yourself in a better scenario to where you don't sit there and just wait for it to come and panic and panic and panic and panic. You
And
know,
yeah, it helps get you ready. Yeah. So you were talking about it for a split second. You were talking about you sometimes check AccuWeather in the weather channel to see what the guess of the temperature or the humidity is going to be. This kind of plays into my question. What are some warning signs in the sky or environment that indicate a tornado or dangerous wind event is imminent? Not just tornado.
you wanna certain cloud types can give it away. Like, um, was it last year? Last year, I think we had, yeah, last year we had a beautiful display of Momatis clouds several times. Momatis clouds can indicate a unstable atmosphere before severe weather, and a strong storm in the realm, in the vicinity of the area of said Momatis clouds. um Again, and you can sit there, you can, if you're on a day expecting storms, especially as you get into mid to late spring, early summer, the temperature, the dew point, which, if you know what you're looking for, you go out and you can. A lot of people, you'll hear them just say, something feels off in the air. The air is thick. It's blah, blah, blah. That's the dew
Mm-hmm.
point working for you. The dew point and the temperature combining to make it absolutely miserable and absolutely muggy outside, while you have a temperature inversion or a cap in place, that you have the sun out, and the sun's heating the atmosphere and slowly eroding that cap, and you walk out the door and you feel like you've just stepped into a pot of soup.
Yeah.
It's nothing but nasty soup. There's plenty of warning signs if exactly, again, what to look for, paying attention, being knowledgeable, having that knowledge of X thing to look for, Y thing to look for. I mean, uh, it's pretty simple. If you go, just observe the horizon, and you see regular cumulus clouds, puffy white, you know, clouds. Then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden they start changing a little bit and start changing a little bit and growing taller, a little darker. Okay. Yeah, time to pay attention a little more, you know?
Or I'm gonna get a little less serious for a second, and you probably
Okay.
know where I'm going with this. It's from a movie. You'll know when I start talking about it. We're going, or when it goes green.
We're going for it when it goes green. Yeah. And when, like we've discussed, a number of times, greenage and a, light blue, bluish tint to the sky is not an absolute necessitator or idea of tornado development. It's a common misnomer. It doesn't absolutely say, hey, look, we're going to see a tornado. It is an indicator of a stronger storm. It is an indicator of a high precipitation storm that the sunlight is reflecting off of, causing these blue and green hues. The storm has got a lot of moisture in it. It's also, potentially going to be a hailer, got, large hail that's, being built and being built up in that updraft that the sun is beaming back down off of, causing green and blue hues to the sky. It's not, again, it's not an absolute necessitator, absolutely not a indicator of tornado development. A lot of people do see it before it happens in a tornado, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not, you know, the sky turns green, the sky turns blue, and every single time there's going to be a tornado. No. That's not. We had one in 2024 that went over the store that um beautiful shelf cloud, absolutely stunning shelf cloud. Went out in the parking lot on lunch, beautiful shelf cloud. Looked at it a couple minutes later, and the sky's got a bluish tint to it, bluish hue to it, especially in the stacked crevices of the shelf cloud. Um, never went tornado warned, never got a tornado. It did try to hook. It did try to, produce a decent, substantial hook on it, but the rotation just never got going, never tightened up to where it ended up being a tornadic threat.
Yeah.
So it's that is another one of those theories or those myths, whatever, that you can debunk, that it's not an indicator, an absolute indicator that, you're gonna see a tornado.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you a less serious question, because as you know, the Media Mania podcast is like we try to be funny, try to have a little good time during the episodes, but also I'm gonna try to keep it weather related. I know you as a storm chaser, weather enthusiast, weather lover, you have a weather movie that you like watching or you watch just because it relates to you in some kind of way. And I already know your answer, but I want to hear you say it. What is your favorite weather related movie? Not documentary, movie.
What is my favorite weather related movie?
Yes.
The OG Twister all day long. The OG Twister all day long with Bill Paxton. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, that man's soul.
The
Um,
extreme. It's the extreme.
yeah, you took me out of the equation when you said documentary, but yes, it's gonna be the OG Twister all day, every day. The rest of them, most of the rest of them that I have found, they're not the best. They're not the worst. There's that movie. It was
Day,
before Twist. That was
Day After
before.
Tomorrow.
It was before Twister. The
Oh,
Perfect Storm is another one.
oh yeah, with
This
George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah.
Yeah, the story about the Andrea Gale. That's another good one that I enjoy, from time to time. Um, realistic could happen, you know, but not overly likely. No, that you're gonna get, two converging systems like that are gonna create an
I heard
absolute
that was
monster.
based off of. I heard that was based off a true story.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely based off a true story. Again, like I said, could happen. Not, something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis or on a week-to-week basis or even on a month-to-month basis, but something that occasionally when you have, you know, a system coming out of Canada and a system, that's coming up out of the Gulf,
There has.
plausible situation that could easily happen.
I was gonna say I know a moment in another movie. It's not a weather movie, but it's a moment in a movie that I know for sure does relate to you for two different reasons. And I've used it to send you memes many times in the past already. It's from Forrest Gump. It's when they're on the stripping boat. Lieutenant Dan, they're in the storm, hurricane, whatever, and Lieutenant Dan is like, "You call this a storm? It's time for a showdown. You and me. Come and get me." That would be the moment. That would be you on a boat in the middle of a hurricane, testing, like telling him to come and get you. Like it's time for a showdown.
I'm not take I'm not taking a boat in the middle of a hurricane. I've thought about it. I've joked about it. I've made posts about it, but within a couple hundred miles to where I could see the outer bands of it or where I could see, decent clouds, that'd be cool. Realistic? No. I'm not. I've been in a much smaller boat during rough storms a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
Me and
fun.
Fisherman,
That
because I know
that's
you like
not
to
fun.
fish.
I've been in an 18 to a 21-foot bass boat, which again is nothing considered compared to, an ocean boat or a shrimper or a crab boat or, whatever. But nah, that's still not fun. I'm good. Again, if I could, get a decent calm view of it from 100, miles, 200 miles away, where the sea is the ocean is not actively trying to throw me
Kill you?
overboard and make me become a family to the ocean. Okay, sure, why not? But I'm not actively trying to become family to the Atlantic. No, thank you.
Oh, come on,
Especially
you know you want to be
especially
Aquaman.
eternal family.
Oh, come on, you know you want to be Aquaman.
No, no, me and Aquaman, I'm good. I'm good. I'll continue to watch Aquaman on SpongeBob. No, thank you.
Uh, all right. One of the last few questions I have for you: what are the top three things you want everyone to remember about storm safety this season?
To top three things, have a plan in place. You know, whether you have to write it down, whether you have on a piece of paper, whether you have to put, like I said, put in the notes on your phone, whether you have to um write it on a chalkboard, the whiteboard by the house, whatever, have X plan in place because we're right around 30 days or so away from severe weather season.
Depending on what the groundhog says.
Matter of fact, official start of tornado season is what, 30 days from today, I do believe. Um
Uh, Depending on what the groundhog says.
March 1st. Oh, no matter what I don't care if the groundhog says 6 more weeks of winter. Tornado season starts March 1st, whether we like it or whether we don't. Um, so have a plan in place, where you can execute it, practice it, get it down to protect you, your loved ones, um, in under 4 or 5 minutes, where you can get to that lowest level, most centered room in your house, away from windows and doors, whether that be from a tornado or a derecho, with 80, 90 mile an hour winds, that they can do the same exact damage. They can rip the roof off your house, they can bust your
Or
windows,
just
they
like
can.
or just like how we just went through the winter storm.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to have some type of preparation in place in case X scenario unfolds. Um, you want to have, especially for a disaster like we're seeing right now, that is a long-term disaster with long-term effects.
Hmm.
You I hate to say it, but we're witnessing it right now. You've got to have something in place to where if it hits the fan, and if it hits the fan big, you're ready. You understand what, you can do, where you're going to go. Yes, the initial shell shock is going to hit you, but you've got that thought process for afterwards. You Where can I go? What can I do? Do I have, X amount of days of food, X amount of days of water, a clean water supply? Do I have my extra medications? Do I have, you know, um, heaven forbid, a little bit of cash because card readers are down, power is out. Um, I need, a little bit of cash to get me some food, or to get me, some new groceries, or even some clean clothes. But you go to your local store or X store, and the card readers are down because the power was out, whatever, they haven't fixed them, this, then, all the other. You have your extra medications for at least a week's worth of medications, at the minimum 4 days worth of extra medications, but you really idealistically want a week's worth. For tornado season, you're gonna want, one of the most impactful injuries that we see that causes fatalities is injuries to the head and the neck, blunt force injuries. And if you think about it realistically, if you take the debris out of the situation, you could go play in a tornado up to, 120 miles an hour, 125, 30 miles an hour. If you have, something to secure you down from being picked up and flown away, you could, if there was no debris in the tornado, you could sit there and play with it.
Yeah.
It's not the tornadic winds that usually claim lives. It's the debris. It's the 2x4 that's chucked at your head at 110 miles an hour. It's the plywood. It's the big bricks. It's the shards of glass. It's
Car.
um in the upper echelon tornadoes. It's the cars, the cars that are coming. You get an EF3 that's 175, 180 miles an hour, EF4 that's 190 miles an hour, whatever. Um, yeah, they're capable of lofting heavy, fully loaded cars,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I definitely don't think you want to be on the receiving end of a Dodge Ram 1500.
Hmm. Or as they
Um,
say in Twister, what's the biggest tornado you can see? An EF5, and what's that like? And I'll let you say what it's like.
I mean, EF5 is absolute mass destruction. In the movie they called it the finger of God, and essentially, it granulates debris. You have the debris that you can pick up. You can put it in your hand and blow it.
Yeah.
It absolutely shreds debris, shreds trees, shreds houses, wipes houses off foundations, granulates the debris. Um, Takes your house off the foundation, depending on either well anchored or not, can take your house off the foundation and loft it 150, 200, 350, yards or whatever, while simultaneously just grinding your house into dust, grinding your belongings into dust. I mean, in the Matador, Texas EF3 that was ruled, I do believe, don't quote me, I think it was 165 miles an hour. We saw engines peeled out
Yeah.
of out of trucks. We saw the engines peeled out of the engine bay, unbolted, stripped the bolts, pulled the bolts out of the engine bay, threw the truck in one direction, threw the engine in a lake. You know, so it, it really doesn't have to be explained, but because people understand that tornadoes have tremendous power. Um,
Mm.
but you really have to be, prepared for what is unfortunately coming. And like I've stated, across social media and various places many, many times, it's the likelihood of you being struck directly by a tornado is exceedingly rare, whether people believe it or not, no matter how many they see every year, which the United States averages between 12 and 1500 a year. It's still exceedingly rare for your exact location to be smacked by a tornado. I think it's in the realm of somewhere between 1 and 12,000, I do believe. Just to put a numerical figure on it. If you want to look it up later and quote me, that's fine. But your statistical odds of being struck are low. Um, but in the event it does happen, and again, same thing goes for 60 to 80 mile an hour damaging winds, derecho with 85 to 110 mile an hour winds. You want to be prepared. You want to have that place in your home tucked away or in a sturdy building, especially for the folks who live in trailers, mobile homes, um, manufactured homes that are put together and then not they're not
Built
built
from
on they're not
bricks.
built on site, they're not built on a concrete slab. They want to have a plan in place for when ideally when those watches start to go out, they
Yeah.
can start to execute phase 1, phase 2 of their plan in seeking higher ground, higher, more sturdy, substantial structure. Um, a lot of people, and I think we talked about this the last video, a lot of people, and it goes back to the mistake question, make the mistake, they wait and they wait and they wait. And a tornado watch gets issued 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours in advance of X event taking
Yep.
place.
Mhm.
But
We just had one with the winter storm. We had a tornado watch issued for like parts of Alabama, Florida, and Georgia south of us while we were dealing with winter weather here in Tennessee.
yeah, and these people, who need to access community shelters, need to access public access tornado shelters, they wait until the last minute. They wait until the tornado warning has gone out. Again,
Yeah.
a watch means conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes. A warning means tornado is on the ground, one has been spotted, or rotation has tightened up, and a tornado is likely to happen, is imminent, in the process of occurring. Um, so people wait for these tornado warnings to drop, and then they get in their car,
Uh-huh.
they go to the shelter that has been open for 3, 4, 5 hours ahead of X weather event. Um, and that's a touch too late. That's
Mm-hmm.
why in some places beyond the soil bedrock composition, the relative location to where you are, in above or below, mean sea level. That's why in some locations these emergency managers and these emergency management agencies opt against public shelters. And then you hear people, why doesn't X place have public shelter? Why doesn't X place have public shelter? Well, a lot of it has to do with the bedrock and the soil composition and the limestone and your mean location to above and below sea level. Um, but another factor is, how many people are they responsible for? How many of these people out of, a town of, say, 300,000 are they responsible for, that are going to actively come and utilize their shelters, that aren't going to actively come and utilize their shelters until a tornado warning drops, with a tornado warning with a, TDS, tornado debris signature, on the ground, actively, moving in one location, or, whatever. Well,
Yeah.
they get that tornado warning and then they decide, okay, time to go. Now we got to go. Ideally, we really don't want you driving out in a tornado storm or a tornadic storm, especially here in Dixie Alley, where they're high precipitation. You can't see them. 98% of your tornadoes are rain wrapped. You wouldn't know what you were looking at if you saw it coming. And to begin with, it's going to look like a big shrouded curtain of rain. And
Mm-hmm.
you could be looking at, what you think is a half mile, 3/4 mile wide tornado. And in all reality, it's a half mile, wall of rain, but the tornado is wrapped in there behind there somewhere, and you just can't see it. And the rain curtains overtakes your car. Well, where's that tornado now? Where are you? You know, next
Gone.
thing you know, next thing you know, your windows blow out. You're in a ditch. You didn't make it to the shelter in time. You know, so I
Or
have
like that one kid from I think it was in Joplin. He got his car thrown into a lake by the tornado.
I I have seen that argument numerous times from emergency managers as to why they don't want public tornado shelters in their county, is because it gives people a false sense of security. They don't want people, okay, tornado warning drop, let's pack the bag and go, guys. And they're driving in the middle of 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, blinding rain, and then all of a sudden a tornado develops behind a rain curtain and they can't see it. They don't know what they're looking at. And next thing you know, the tornado crosses the interstate while they're two exits away from the exit that the tornado shelter is on, and flips 25 cars and throws cars into the wood line, and throws cars into bridge abutments and blah 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 whatever. Then what? I mean, then you also have to worry about another thing that is commonly seen. And don't do this if you, Lord forbid, if you're in a storm and it starts to hail and you're on the interstate, don't stop under the overpass. Keep going. It's a little bit of hail. Yeah, you might have to replace your windshield. I'm sorry. Insurance will help you. The deductible's not going to be cheap. But don't hold up not only your life, but other people's lives
Someone
who are
else.
behind you, whatever, because of quarter ping pong ball, golf ball size hail that's putting a couple inch extra dents and scratches in your car and might potentially break your windshield. What are you gonna do if
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 you
you've
unfortunately,
done if you're at the front of the conga line, you're the first, second, and third one under that overpass, 3 lanes wide, and you've caused a 3 mile backup, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, oh, here comes that rain wrapped tornado straight at the bridge. Or, heaven forbid, 100 yards behind that bridge where you've created a 3 mile backup Congo line of cars. And next thing you know, you
it's
watch,
coming right at you.
next thing you know, you watch everybody behind you fly away into the abyss, into the wood line and the tree line,
Yep.
and you're the
And I'm
lead,
in Kansas, Dorothy.
and you're the pace car of that Congo line. You know,
Yep.
it's another thing to think about.
You waking up
So
odds.
I I, I would definitely, have some sort of plan in place. I would definitely buy a basic first aid kit, understand and be trained in basic knowledge of first aid. Um you want helmets, pillows, blankets, whatever, something to protect your head and neck area. Um Flashlights, batteries, um snacks, a little bit of water in wherever, either in a go bag. I have a tactical army style bag over there. Or if your shelter, wherever you're gonna take shelter, is big enough, stock it with a little bit of food. Consider getting, on the off chance you end up under the house, under the debris and you can't move, throw a whistle around your neck. Bright,
Yeah.
bright, vibrant colors if they have to, do search and rescue at night and look for you at night. Bright, vibrant colors so that you can stick out like a sore thumb in, a flashlight or whatever. Reflective vests. Again, definitely a help.
Write your name on yourself with a Sharpie.
Yeah, that's ideal, but it's only ideal in really, catastrophic situations where we're expecting fatalities. But it's also, yeah, definitely a good idea. You so that if the unfortunate happens, you can be easily identified. I've only ever seen it a handful of times when they're expecting, of course, people to stay on the coastlines, and a massive, hurricane, Katrina, Helene, whatever, Michael. Um, I didn't do that on purpose. I swear to God, I didn't do that on purpose. That just came to mind. My bad. Um, I promise I didn't call that out on purpose. It was just from memory. But you get a hurricane like, that, and no, again, no matter what we do, no matter the messaging, no matter, yada yada, you're still gonna have those that um
Want to defy.
refu- they refuse to evacuate. They refuse to leave their homes, and can I honestly say I blame them? No, because I would be a hypocrite if I did. My parents stayed during Hurricane Andrew. They never moved. They got totally evacuated by the fire department and they stayed during Hurricane Andrew. So I can't I can't say I blame people for wanting to protect their property. Um,
Yeah.
is it one of the smartest moves? No, it's absolutely not, because I mean, once the house starts to flood, what are you gonna do? But that's one of the only times that I've ever seen it be um publicly announced to, mark yourself with your name, date of birth, your social, so that in the event you have to be identified, it can be done in a quick, you know, manner and fashion. We don't see it too often, but it does. That messaging is put out by emergency management agencies, police departments, fire departments, whatever, in cases of extreme weather events. Yeah. Um, but I mean, just again, going back to it, have a plan in place, be ready, be prepared, make sure that you have, um, safety equipment, medical kits, food, a little bit of snacks, so that if you have to, you can survive for a day or two or three, whatever, on a couple bottles of water, some crackers, some granola bars, couple of the, carryable size of Pringles, whatever. If you're trapped under debris, or if you're flooded in a house, or whatever the case may be, just the main messaging is be as prepared as possible, and don't think that it can't happen to you just because you've got lucky for 20, 25 years, whatever. Yeah, it
So,
absolutely can happen.
so
Weather is non-discriminatory.
yeah. So before we wrap up tonight, what would you say to anyone who has storm anxiety, or to your fellow chasers before the storm season starts in a couple of weeks? What would you say to them?
Prepare, be prepared, become knowledgeable about the situation, become knowledgeable about the things that scare you. You know, again, going back to halfway through this podcast, knowledge is power. The more you know, the easier it is. The more you understand, the better you feel. The better you feel, the less you panic. The less you panic, the more prepared you are, and less likely to screw up and make a mistake in the event that it does happen. Something big occurs. Um, learn how, learn how to read these radars, these um upper air charts, these photographs, the 500 millibar chart, the 700 millibar chart, the 850. Learn how to read SQT, log P, photograph soundings. It looks hard. It does. It looks hard, and I think the hardest part about it is probably the photographs and a little bit of the, upper air charts, 500, 700, 850 millibars. But once you understand, what you're looking at, what you're seeing, and what it actually means, and you're educated on the situation, just like in anything else, it gives you the tools to properly prepare and properly identify potential threats to life, limb, and property when they occur. They're not as often, not as often as they see. We see more good days than we do bad days. We see more blue sky than we do dark sky and spinning clouds. Um, we see, way more blue sky than we do tornadoes or hurricanes, or um, winter storms that do all this damage and claim all these lives. You know, but it's just so much more exposure is out there due to social media, that it's become a constant, and it's become a
Yeah.
constant reminder in the backs of people's minds that the way that I look at it, that they have to be prepared for. They have to understand that if they're prepared, if they're educated, if they have a plan in place, like I'm pretty sure we said this, the last go around here a couple days ago. We can't stop. You can't stop it. We can't set up fans on, the Canadian border, and or the, or the coast of California, and blow these low pressures and these troughs and everything back out to sea, or blow the Arctic air back, back to Norway where
What
it
about if
came.
we put, what about if we put a close sign? We put a sign that says "close" on the coast. I've
Yeah,
seen painters do that.
yeah, let's close our, let's close everything up, close up shop, see how that works. It's not going to work. It's not, so unfortunately these things happen. They're going to keep happening and keep happening. It's the circle of life. So as long as you're prepared for it, you understand it, and you are
Circle of
knowledgeable about it,
life.
that's really all you can do, because
It's the
we can't
circle of life.
we can't stop it from happening. As much as
No.
we'd like to, we can't.
Well, again, I would like to thank my good friend and weather weather storm chaser Nathan Reno, aka Storm Chaser Nathan Reno, aka Wheelie Weather, for coming on the show again and talking about the upcoming storm season for Dixie Alley and the Plains for 2026, and just sharing some knowledge so people can be safe and know how to act when storm season fires up in a couple weeks. And if y'all haven't yet, if you scan that QR code in your top left hand corner, it'll take you to Nathan's Instagram page, his Willy Weather page. Go give it a follow. If you have storm anxiety, if you want some good weather knowledge, go follow Nathan. He doesn't fear monger. He keeps calm during these events, and he's just an awesome dude. He posts some funny stuff when the weather's going on, and he'll make fun of the weather all day long. But when it's time to get serious, he will get serious. He'll buckle down and do it.
Every once in a while, I'll throw something funny out there when it's deserved, just to just take take the edge off. You got to take the edge off sometimes, and get 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 it to where people are calm and a little more copacetic and relaxed, so that,
Maybe you need to go have that word with Elsa then.
yeah, so that they can absorb the information that's, at hand, and what's potentially at play, so that they can make the informed decision that they need to make, because they're the only one capable of making that decision. Nobody else can help you make that decision for you. Yeah, we can advise you along the way, sure. We can tell you what to do, but realistically, um and forgive me, but as the good old Toby Keith said, rest in peace to his soul. Um, we can't put a boot in your ass and make you make
Nope.
that decision for you. I'm sorry.
And y'all be looking for another episode. We might Nathan might be back on the show for hurricane season this year. Hurricane season's coming up too, so you never know. You might see me and him talking about the upcoming hurricane season and what all happens out on on both sides of the Pacific and the Atlantic hurricane season. So be
I'll
looking for
start
that.
looking I'll start looking into that probably, no, deeper, probably March or so, late April, and kind of see where we're at with El Nino, La Nina, Enzo, the sea surface temperatures, the MJO, the Madden Julian oscillation. I'll start looking into that in a little while, and kind of, I mean, don't I know what the information says now, but it's still X amount of months away. I'm not too deep into it right now, but definitely going to be something to look into in the coming months. So,
Well, as always, ladies and gentlemen, Nathan, you know where this is about to go. I do this every time at the end. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host. I will always be your host. This has been the Media Mania podcast. I've been your host, as always, the Media Maverick, Mike Weldon. And this has been my guest tonight, Storm Chaser Nathan Reno, aka Willie Weather. And if y'all didn't catch this live, make sure y'all catch it on the video on demand and catch us where you can catch us. We are out of here.
I appreciate you.